Since I was like 12 years old, I wanted to be a missionary pilot. I went to Mexico on a missions trip with my dad, who was a pastor, and got to experience what overseas ministry was like. And so ever since then, I wanted to become a missionary pilot. And I think it's interesting because, the Lord puts our path in front of us. But sometimes we have a dream, and that's kind of, honestly, in society today, it's all about your dream. And what I've come to realize is that God can use our dream, our personal dream, to accomplish His purposes, but He may redirect it. And so, after I graduated school, my plan was to join a certain mission, go to a certain country, and then be a missionary pilot. But everything started to look different. I ended up returning to my alma mater, to Moody, to instruct. And I got married. And my wife and I had our first son. Incredible times. And then as we started filling out applications to go overseas, that's when COVID hit. And that started the progression of my dream diverging from God's dream. I had this way that I thought, okay, if we're going to go be in missionary aviation, this is how it's going to look. That kind of started out where we were applying to go to Peru, serve in South America, flying float planes on the Amazon. What could be better than that? And that was honestly, both me and my wife were super excited about that. And then we got word that, the country had closed down. We had bought tickets to visit. The director called us and said, hey, you have to cancel your visit because of the COVID situation here. During that time, I had taken an evaluation and passed that, but the mission said, we want you to get a little practical experience because what you've been doing has been teaching, and we want you to see the practical side of things too. So there was kind of another complication in the layer of where are we going. And then to wrap all that up, we'll probably not wrap it up, but on top of all that, we had 3 miscarriages, which that was really hard. And after having our first child and realizing just how deep that hit, that was hard to work through and figuring out what do we do, what's going on. So all those things combined, God was doing something that we didn't really know what was going on. And so that prompted the move to Worthington, to rural Minnesota. And so from planning to serve in the jungles of the Amazon to rural Minnesota, that was a big shift and one that we really had to work through. But the way that God has worked, the things He has done, and the peace and certainty He has given me and my wife, it's just incomparable. We can't imagine being anywhere else. And we are so certain of what God is doing that it's truly there's a psalm that says, the Lord will give you the desires of your heart. And originally I was thinking, oh, okay, if I want this, God's going to give it to me. But you got to flip that on its head and think that God will give you the desires that will be in your heart. And that's truly what He did with us here in Worthington. And that's what I want to be able to show you now. Proclaim Aviation Ministries literally exists to break down barriers. We use 3 words, equip, serve, and send. And when we say those, sometimes you might think, oh, corporate statement, that's just on the wall. But those are verbs, just like our name, proclaim. The reason we exist is because of the gospel. We want to see the gospel get to the corners of the earth, and the way that we do that is by equipping aviators with the skills and resources they need to serve the Lord, and then we send those laborers into the harvest. Somebody will graduate from school. They can have the best training ever, but like any job, if you don't have experience, you don't qualify. And so many aviators were graduating with no experience, and then they were leaving the mission realm and then not coming back. And so that's why Proclaim was formed, so that we can bridge that gap, we can break down the barriers so that these men and women who have a fire and a passion to serve the Lord can be equipped well and then sent into the global harvest. When I was in school, I know some of the wording that I used when talking about missionary aviation was when I become a missionary, when I get where I'm going, and always talking in the future tense, because in school you feel like you're just preparing, you're not actually doing. But one thing that I've realized serving here at Proclaim is that it's not just about your future time or your future place. It's about blooming where God's planted you. Whether that is in high school, in college, in the experience building phase, it's taking a look and seeing what ministry opportunities has God put in your way right now that you can faithfully serve Him. Because so many times as we prep missionaries, we hear about that future time and that future place, but truly God has a ministry for you every step of the way. And the best way to prepare for your future ministry is to be faithful where He's planted you right now.